The views and opinions expressed on this platform are of me, myself, and I, not any agency I'm affiliated with. So please do not take what I say personally. So personally, I'm not a fan of like everything happens for a reason and there are no coincidences and whatever like this, everything's set for a certain reason. But I do feel like there are times when things happen for a certain reason, even if we don't see it from the get go. For myself, one of those was changing the ambulance station that I was like stationed at the time and having a new partner. And here is where I introduce my guest today, Logan Bergeron. I met Logan like the last quarter going through paramedic school, and I really do believe at that time, kind of like the solidifying, hey, you've learned all of this stuff, now go apply it. Good luck. Um, at that time, I had Logan to kind of be like, hey, it's a lot, but we're gonna get through this, and just the dude was phenomenal in helping me through that, being a good friend, and even past now that I no longer live in Louisiana, I'm near Area 51. Uh, now that I'm over here, just still having his guidance and like just friendship in general, it's helped a lot. So, Logan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Logan, born and raised in South Louisiana. I've been in EMS a little over 6 years now, paramedic for 4, was an EMT for 2.
Okay, Logan, tell us, why did you get into this job? Why did you become a basic? And like was there like a decision making moment where you were like, I need to not be a basic and go straight to paramedic? Like, what's been your journey like?
So, everybody's a little different. I mean, for me, I know it might sound a little cliche, but I kind of always knew what I wanted to do. And I guess whenever you have a passion, you just know what you want to do. Sophomore year of high school, I kind of really made a decision that I wanted to get into the medical field, and I knew it was going to be I was going to either become a paramedic or get into nursing. Towards the end of my senior year of high school, I kind of let a lot of people talk me out of it and kind of leaned towards making some money in the oil field, which I learned a very important life lesson, and that is to do what makes you happy, and money is not everything. But I didn't really try that hard in high school, my senior year. Didn't do too great on my ACT, and also what you would consider like a first generation college student. My parents didn't go to college. Neither did my grandparents. So college was like a foreign territory to me, and to be quite honest, it just kind of scared me. So I did go into the oil field, and I did non-destructive testing. Did that for about 6 months and realized that I completely hated it. and but what else do you do whenever you're 18 and you're making a lot of money? You buy stuff. And I bought stuff and accumulated bills. So I couldn't just jump right into college from getting out of the oil field. So saved up some money, went through EMT school, became an EMT, and I knew that at some point I did want to do paramedic or nursing again, but I just kind of wanted to get some more experience and also needed a little bit more financial stability. So went through P school and I've been there since and currently in the process of trying to get into nursing school. So that's how that journey went along.
Okay, I'm actually going to jump around on the questions a little bit.
Sure.
So I think we kind of talked about one shift, like you were deciding like, do I want to go back to nursing? Do I want to do this? I don't really know. I just remember there was one time you were like, show me something on your phone, and I looked. Wasn't Indeed.com one of the bookmarks on your
Oh
phone?
yeah.
You were like,
Oh, definitely.
I've got to do something else.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. I've from pretty much every consistent partner I've had can tell you that there's been like I go on like a 1 month span of where I'm just like, what is out there, you know? But I always come back to EMS, and I don't know, it's hard to peel yourself away from it after you've done it. And I do enjoy it. I enjoy being EMS. I do enjoy being a paramedic. I actually say this a lot. I enjoy being a paramedic. I just don't enjoy EMS. So I can do all the paramedic stuff. Mine is the EMS stuff where it's like getting off late, being in 200 miles away from the station that you're based out of, 2 hours before you're supposed to crew change, and never getting to eat and always being on the side of the road, that type of stuff. I could do without that, but I guess starting IVs is pretty cool.
So you're telling me you didn't enjoy that one time I'd worked a 48, got to our shift, and we were posted up, and dispatch called, and they were like, "Hey, you guys can either stay posted in Jennings, or
Oh,
we
how
got
did
one
I
going to
know you were gonna
Texas."
bring this up? I knew you were gonna bring this up. I forgot. I should have known. I feel blindsided, but I should have known better. Yes,
Dude,
yes.
anytime.
I chose to go to a whole another state, which was right next to our state, Texas. Um, yeah, I chose that, and wasn't a great idea. But I think like not even an hour into the shift, I was like, no, this wasn't a good idea at all. I made a
No,
horrible
it was
mistake.
literally, they were like, "It's up to y'all, whatever y'all want to do. We have another crew that could take it." And I was like, "Oh man." And I don't think I even told you I had been working entirely too much, still in P school, and I looked at you and you were like, "Come on, man. It's going to be fun. We can go to this place, like, oh my God, please, man." And like I didn't want to say no cuz you were so stoked. I was like, "Okay, let's
Dude,
do it."
you
And
should
you
have
hadn't even
just.
looked up where exactly it was. You're like, "Yeah, we'll be back by this time." So we're like 30 minutes into this drive, and I'm already thinking to myself, what are we doing? We're also not in our regular truck. We're in a piece of trash. Anytime someone says like LDT, I literally get flashbacks to this truck. And like 30 minutes in, I think I made you drive like to the patient, which was hours away.
Yeah.
And I look over at you and you're like, "Man, how far are we?" I'm like, "We're still like at least 4 hours." And you were like, "How far is it to the destination?" I said, definitely over 6." And you looked over at me and you were like, "Man, this may not have been a good idea." And I said, "You better keep smiling. You better enjoy every second of this."
Yeah. But you did get In-N-Out
And
Burger that night, so
yeah, it was worth it.
yeah. I mean, I guess.
Just for everyone to know, don't ask for Logan on his opinion of food, because he says he doesn't like In-N-Out and he wasn't impressed.
Dude, listen, first of all, I am from South Louisiana. Like I said before, the food out here is different, okay? I mean, you could probably tell by my accent, I sound probably totally like Cajun. Everybody's going to listen to this and be like, oh my God. So, yeah, no, the burgers out here, I mean, they got like a mom and pop shop down the road that makes like the best cheeseburgers ever. So In-N-Out, yeah, wasn't that impressive. Sorry, In-N-Out, if you're listening to this. I seriously doubt it, but
They're only sponsoring this episode.
oh well.
Not only like it was good, and then we were trying to like drive back, and I was like, we might make it back for crew change.
Yeah.
We might. And then I look down, we're in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, "Hey Logan, I think we need gas soon." Like real soon.
Yeah, we did.
4-way stop intersection, and I was like, "What do we do? I don't know if we can stop. We may not be able to go." And you were like, "Just keep going." Just
Yeah.
don't even
Don't.
stop.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah, just coast through the stop sign. Just it's clear. Coast through it. We cannot stop. We got to roll into this gas station. We were on fumes.
The truck had been making weird noises for the past 5 miles, and I was like, "I'm not gonna say anything. Maybe Logan doesn't notice."
Oh yeah, no, I knew. I was, I
But
was, I was just praying quietly the whole time. That's why you didn't hear anything from me. Just had my seatbelt on. No, yeah, and I remember we got back 30 minutes before crew change and took a 15-minute nap.
it's painful.
Yeah, not as painful as some of the other things, but I'm not going to bring that up with anaphylaxis.
So, okay, I will say this because I mentioned like Ken would mention little comments and whatever, and like on the other episode, I never put you through, not intentionally, obviously. You never
No.
had to go through what I went through with Ken, or what
Yeah.
rather Ken went
I
through.
will.
So you're welcome.
No, I heard the stories, and I'm appreciative of or minute situation. I'll take that any day.
Cool moment though. Okay, me and Logan listened to the same podcast. We listened to it like forever ago. I didn't know Logan. Like the dude just started working there, and I'm like, cool. I think I was gonna pick up a shift with you. So I did what I normally do. I text your partner that you had at that time. I was like, hey, can I get Logan's number? I need to like warn him. She was like, oh, I already did. But just here you go. So I sent you that text of, hey, it's Alexis. I don't care what you bring for snacks, but also don't bring strawberries. I didn't know that on that podcast we listened to, you actually heard the episode I had submitted. So you were like, what? Is this her? And then you met me, you're like, oh, she's actually not that cool.
Oh no, no!
Okay.
You sent me that big old long text. I'm like, as a matter of fact, I think I was eating. I don't know if I was eating strawberry something. I know I was like eating breakfast or something, and it might have been like French toast stuff, French toast. I don't know something, but yeah, it was a big long message, and I was just like, huh, this sounds like really familiar. Like I was like, I became the world's like greatest PI at that point. I like did some digging, social media, went back to the podcast. I was like, oh yeah, and then I was like 99% sure it was you. So yeah.
Your first words to me were, did you submit an episode to EMS? Whatever. And I was like, what?
Yeah, no, I remember like pulling up the episode and I showed it. I was like, is this you? Like, the look on your face was priceless. It was worth it. Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, especially now, but when you were in the cusp of loving EMS, more so, what what would you say like kept you going? Especially right now, like every shift you're looking at Indeed and you're like asking me like, should I do this? Should I do this instead? And I'm like, Logan, please come back to shift next week. Please don't leave.
No.
Like, what would you say like you do or like would help you prevent burnout and stuff like that? What can help other people with that?
Yeah. I listen. I'm always looking. I'm just curious. I like to know what's out there, so I just like always like just to keep a, you know, keep an open eye, check things out, and you never know. Like especially down here, there might be something that might help me out with as far as school, like maybe getting something inside of a hospital versus pre-hospital, start exposing myself to that type of environment. But no, I would say like the thing that I do that I guess really helps prevent with the burnout and just kind of keeps me going is it's the little things. It's all the little things. I'm a big coffee drinker, you know that. So I look forward to my coffee. Like that's what keeps a lot of that keeps me going. Um, just taking some time to myself to sit down in the mornings or afternoons, whenever, drink a cup of coffee, uh, look forward to episodes or movies coming out on Netflix and just taking the time to watch that. Going outside, maybe going for a run. Uh, Also, my daughter, spending time with her. Just those little things that a lot of people take for granted, but really, it's a very good. Yeah, it helps you decompress, really. So yeah.
I will say from personal experience, there was that little coffee shop we had down the street. It's like we would do check off and we'd do things, we'd catch up, whatever, and it was a good time, but you become a different person and dare say a better person once you've had your cup of morning coffee.
No, 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 no. It's my second cup of coffee because here's the thing. I make coffee at home and I put it in my little to-go cup and I drive to work, drink it, usually do check off, chit chat. I'm finishing it up and I'm like, all right, time for that second cup. Yeah, no. You should see without that first cup of coffee what it's like. I mean, you may have once or twice.
That early call where you're like, oh God, oh, and I'm like, good morning, yay.
Yeah. they
Um,
know my order by heart at that little coffee shop now. They just walk in there and they're like, "You want it hot or cold today?" No, hot, cold,
you
whatever.
still get the king cake?
Yeah, mostly. I've been wanting to try a couple different flavors, but yeah. Wow,
Ooh,
nobody else.
ranch.
Yeah, I know, right? It's getting a little wild. Loose cannon over here. Everybody in Utah that's listening, that listens, is gonna be like, "King cake, what? What?"
What's a king cake?
uh, yeah,
What do you mean you put a plastic baby in it?
yeah, right. Put what?
Logan also managed like I still don't know how you finagled it. Uh, he was like my FTO on clearing ride times, so, like right after I got my patch. And I didn't know, but we went to go post up in this city that shall not be named. And you were like, "Hey, while we're posted here, you want to just trade trucks with them and like we'll be this truck for the night. You can get some good calls, good, whatever." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Woo. Um
No,
we
hey,
had that.
that's no. I look, I did that because it was the best thing for you. I mean, I wanted you to get some calls, get some experience, have somebody with you that you could lean on in case before you went out on your own. And we actually, we ran like one really decent call.
Yeah. No, it's I like you a real one for that, but it's that call where we went for I think the it came out as unresponsive. We get to the lady and the mom's like, "Yeah," or the daughter, that's what it was. The daughter was like, "I just talked to her a couple minutes ago." We get in there and this lady's like she's been like not okay for a minute.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
She's
one.
so sweaty. And she's like, she got an insure that morning and her blood pressure's trash. She just looks sick, sick.
CBG
And
was
we went to
like
go,
through the roof.
I think it just greeted us. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, yeah, exactly. It was just, it waved from the monitor, from the little glucose monitor. It was just like waving at us, saying hi. That's how high. Then and she had
And
like
the
elevation and
oh yeah, 12 lead was like, I looked
Eurosepsis. It
at
was just
it. Dude, we rolled her over and there were orange slices underneath her. She's also laying on top of a trash bag. So we're like, what is happening?
yo.
There's orange slices underneath her.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yo.
underneath. So much. Called it in. That hospital. It's such a trash hospital. They were like, okay, two nurses greeted us.
Mm.
And then like went back in for a signature, something like that. And they're like literally casually just trying to start an IV and like her blood pressure's still trash. They haven't whoa.
Yeah. But hey, she made it to ICU and you
She
saved a
did.
life.
She probably died the next day, but
No, no, no. I have hope. I think she did okay. I think she did okay. You did good too.
oh man. Um
And I did a good job of driving, so just put a bow on it and let's call it a good day.
no, we also I think that's the same night we had that call for the lady with the vent and like she's normally on a like a little at home vent. She has a trach and all that stuff. And the family was like, "We don't know what's going on. We've tried this, that, and the other." And like the lady pretty much hasn't been breathing for a minute. That was like my first like at home vent call.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that bad, but I just remember like being in the back trying to call like the people who made the vent. And I'm like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And you were just like, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great, Logan. I love this."
Yeah, no, that was an interesting call. I'm not a fan of trachs and vents. I'm not. I mean, I just, I'm not. I do my best that I can. But and truly, I mean, there's not a whole lot you really can do, but you covered the basics. And again, patient made it to the hospital, and they had a pulse. They were alive and breathing. So you know what? Another win.
I'm out here saving lives. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
What is actually your favorite type of call?
Like metalcore trauma,
Medical trauma,
like
psych, um,
any way. What?
cardiac,
Oh,
or psych,
no,
respiratory, like
I definitely wouldn't consider myself a like a trauma junkie. Like some people, some people are all about trauma and the adrenaline and all that. I think it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It really is. It's not my favorite call though, and just because like I feel like there's not a whole lot that you can really do. I mean, yeah, you get to start a big IV, or you get to see some pretty cool stuff, or the situations that might arise because of due to the trauma or the traumatic event. It's interesting, but I mean, like I said, there's not a whole lot you can do. Medical, on the other hand, sometimes you really got to think about those calls, and you really, really might have to think and break it down. And I mean, if there's any paramedic students out there, like that's the call you should really focus on. Those are the calls you should really focus on whenever you're in school, because I find that, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure too, like in paramedic school, like it's one thing. Like you're looking for one thing and one thing only. There's nothing. It's just appendicitis or angina, whatever. Out in the real world, there could be like 3 different things going on, and you just have to, you gotta do a good assessment and get a good history of present illness and everything. And I don't know, those are my favorite calls.
I'm a big fan of respiratory myself.
Ugh.
Love a good respiratory call. We don't get those up here, dude. Like used to, it's like if you didn't run like on a COPD or CHF or anything like that, or shortness of breath in like a week, it's like, what happened with everybody? Now it's like when I get one, I'm like I feel myself, like my spidey senses are tingling. I'm like, yes, it's home, comfort, home.
It's the humidity. It'll get you.
The air is thick and tangent.
Yeah. No, I guess the air is different down here, but yep.
There's a little spicier down there.
Yeah.
I feel like you went into EMS more for like the medical side of it than so much the adrenaline rush that most people, I feel like, go into EMS for. Do you feel like that's kind of transitioned from like you're going back to school for nursing and stuff like that because you want to know more about it, or like because weren't you a CCT medic at one point?
No. I never did. The service that I did work for, they offered a critical care course, and I was eligible for it, but I never did do it. I do plan on doing it in the future, just to have and just to learn a little bit more, just not at this time. And even if the whole nursing thing works out, which hopefully it will, I would actually kind of like to get into not get out of emergency medicine, but maybe get into like ICU stuff, just to see what happens on the other side. Once after you slap the Band-Aid in the ER, what how do you actually fix them? How do they actually get discharged? That aspect of it. But yeah, definitely it wasn't all about the flashy lights and adrenaline. I think it was literally, I just thought it was so cool to be able to help these people, or just to be able to know what to do in a situation, a bad situation that could turn up at any minute.
So as much as like I don't rag on nurses, I could not do that job, whatnot. It's just not something that like I'm made for. I don't think I could ever do it, but I think it's commendable, like anybody that decides to do it. So like, dude, you're not only are you working like 24s and then you do overtime and stuff like that, you're doing that with, you got your wife, her name is Alexis. She's really cool. Not just because we share the same name, but you got a kid at home too, and you're going back to school. Like that's a lot, man. Like kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot. It is a lot.
I just remember like when you first started, I was like, this dude's so tired.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the nasal cannula?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you can go for it. I actually got that was actually brought up by another person that was present there at that time recently, this past weekend actually. Yeah, we still joke about it. We still joke about it.
This dude was so tired because I think you had to file like, dude, you were putting in hours and overtime on top of like you had some big tests coming up in school, and me, myself, and I, Boo Boo the clown, we got something, and we got grape. I think I got some grapes at like a gas station, which already sounds sketchy.
Yeah, I know, right? That's
already
what I was like,
sounds sketchy.
Why?
So I'm eating them, and I'm like, starting to feel a little something, something. But I was like, maybe not. Because ignore it and it will go away, right? No.
Mm-mm.
I'm actually doing better with that, but that's not the point. Um, got the grapes, and we went back to the station at the city that shall not be named.
Right.
And you were like, I'm gonna go take a nap on the couch. And I'm like, yeah, cool. But it came more as like, yeah, cool. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad yet. And I was like, yeah, you do what you gotta do. Low key, like I'm trying to like assess myself of like, where are we at in this? What's about to transpire? Also, because I was not a good patient, I was trying to ignore it, which you cannot ignore
Mm-hmm.
anaphylaxis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm like, there was another medic there, and he was kind of just like doing his own thing. I'm doing my own thing. And then after a while, I was like, hey, I think I need some help. So he's like, are you having a reaction? I was like, yes. So he was like, I'm going to go get the stuff. Like, go wake up your partner and tell him. So I went to go get you, and I saw in your eyes, dude. You were like hearing what I was saying, but you weren't there. And I was like, go get the oxygen. And you were like, yeah. Not like I didn't even okay, in your defense, I didn't say it was for me, but also you're just like, yeah, I'll go do that. And like I just left the room because I'm like, I'm just trying to make it. Like, I don't have time to like watch what Logan's doing.
Yeah.
And so you went and got it, and I'm just like sitting in one of the offices, and like the medic's like giving me the epi, doing all the things, and you come back in with the oxygen bag, and you're just like casually, just like still happens. I'm watching my O2. I'm like, this is not where we need to be right now. And I look over at you, and you pull out a nasal cannula.
Just put it in your nostrils, put it over your ears, just casually connecting it to the regulator. I was like, 2 liters. Let's start off there. And I was like, yeah, I was pretty sure I was dreaming. Like I thought I was dreaming.
There was this moment where you look up and you're like, wait, hold on, what's happening?
Yeah. Other
And the medic was like, a nasal cannula? Seriously?
He's like, this is an allergic reaction. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. No, yeah. When you woke me up, I thought for whatever reason we were going to change the main or something, and I was just like, okay, we're going to change the main, and then I was like, then you came back, told me, and then I remember going to grab the bag, and I was half asleep. I was like in a whole other world. I was not there. I really think I was dreaming, but yeah, I remember that. Every time I grab a nasal cannula.
It wasn't funny in the moment, but it is now.
You made it. Look, another win.
What would you say is the craziest or funniest call you've ever had?
Oh, okay. So, the most memorable call, it's like the unicorn calls of EMS. I wasn't even in EMS that sophomore year when I had decided, it was either going to be paramedic or nursing. I I did a ride along my junior year of high school, and it was on one of the busiest trucks in the service area, and they usually get all the good calls. And that day we had like it was like your normal run of the mill calls. Like I remember one of them was like a seizure, but by the time we got there, they were post-ictal. It was just like monitor supportive care type thing. And we made it back to the station, and like after that, it was just like relatively slow, which was unusual. Okay, I remember like we were just in the station. Medic was laying down on the couch, and they had like one of the old school telephones, the wire and everything, the one that has the tail. And I remember cell phones going off, and they got the page, and the phone rang at the same time, and it just looked like something out of a movie. The paramedic answers it, and all I remember is they said, "Oh, what? Where? Okay," and like hung up. And I already knew the routine from like that day, so I'm already getting in the back of the truck, and the paramedic stuck their head in the back of the truck as we're leaving, and they're like, hey, so look, we're going on this call. Might be a lot of blood. You sure you're okay with that? Like everything, you can handle that? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, that's what I'm here for. We get there, and the patient was impaled with a plunger. That's the one who the patient was getting out of the tub, still wet, and slipped, and it was kind of a heavier set patient. Um, there was a tub, toilet, and in between the toilet and the tub was a plunger. Patient slips, kind of heavier size patient, and lands right on the plunger, and kind of like it penetrated. It was probably about the mid-axillary, about fourth or fifth intercostal space is where it entered at, and it was just stuck there. Like she was just laying on her side, and yeah, as a not even EMR, EMT, never rode on an ambulance a day in my life. I was just like, I mean, you could picture what my face looked like. I was just like, what? Like, this is something out of a movie. Like, that was like, and I've never ran anything or really heard of like anything as crazy or cool as that. It's like since being in EMS, like that was like a unicorn. Even that paramedic, I talked to that paramedic a while back, and they were like, yeah, I still talk about that call sometimes when people ask me about it. Like I think about it because it was just that wild. But yeah, a plunger to the side. So that was definitely one of the best ones, and I wasn't even in EMS. So yeah.
I didn't know where that was going, so I was about to ask, did they accidentally or was it intentional?
No, like that was like I know everybody goes there with it whenever I tell that story. They're like, "Wait, where was the plunger?" And I was like, "No, no, no. It was in her side. It was on the right side, mid axillary, fourth, fifth intercostal space." Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting.
What a good time.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you did you guys have to like bandage it where it was at and transport the plunger
I
with it? Because you're not gonna take
Yeah,
it out.
no, it was no. When I tell you it was in there, if I remember correctly, um, and this patient was elderly too, so I mean like skin's fragile, bones are fragile, like so it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't like me or you, which I mean with enough force, blunt penetrating trauma. I mean, I would go,
Anyone
yeah,
can become a shish kebab with enough
exactly,
force.
exactly. But for her, it didn't take much, and her being a little heavier didn't really help. But from what I remember, this was like I said, junior year of high school for me. From what I remember, uh, we loaded her up on a spine board to carry her out, and I want to say maybe stabilize the plunger, maybe kind of put like some bulky dressing around it. And I remember the paramedic getting an IV. I don't remember where, what kind. I know we had to transport the patient left lateral recumbent because it was on the right side, and uh, threw a non-breather on that patient. And I really don't remember a whole lot because, like I said, and I wasn't even EMS, so like I didn't even know. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna just be supportive, like watch. But oh, dude, there's little old me just like all dressed all nice for my ride along, and I'm walking in there like I'm like a kid, like a probably a kindergartner holding their parents' hand, walking into school on the first day, like holding on to the pocket of my paramedic shirt, walking into the trauma room, and like there's just nothing but trauma surgeons, doctors, respiratory, X-ray, everyone's there, nurses, and like I'm just wide-eyed. And I was white because I remember I think the EMT was like, "Are you good? You're not gonna pass out, right? Because you look really white right now. You are white as a ghost, dude. You're pale." And I was like, "No, I'm good. I am shook like that. I've never seen anything like that before." But yeah, it was definitely awake and jittery for several hours after that. Just like the adrenaline was just like it didn't stop.
Your mom at home is like, Logan, where are the plungers? Keep them away.
Hey, how was your ride along? It's great. Where are all the plungers at? We need to confiscate them immediately.
They're putting plungers on like shelves,
Yeah, they're locked in a glass case like a fire extinguisher.
breaking cases.
Only in emergencies.
Um, bonus question. So like that call is wild. Like that's again like we see a bunch of stuff. Like that's a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a unicorn.
what's like a recent or like even in your journey of EMS, like a call that's like challenged you, either made you a better paramedic or made you like, even if it's like a call that like made you decide like, yep, nursing is it. Like what what does that call look like for you?
No, I mean, really, there's no. I can't think of a call. I mean, I can think of some interesting ones, but ones that really, I feel like they all kind of really make you think. Honestly, like you really got to think about all of them, especially those medical calls we talked about. But like I said, I think really all of them just make you think. Honestly, I don't. Yeah, there's no specific one. Uh,
Oh, that's why you're going into nursing school because you know
No,
everything now.
yeah. I'm bored. No, that is not it at all. I don't want anybody out there thinking like, oh wow, the guy's cocky. That is not it at all. Nothing really comes to mind right now. Like it, even when I read over those questions, I was like, I can't really think of anything. But it's not because I know everything. I feel like they're really and truly all. You should really think about every call. None of them should just be like, which some of them are your run of the mill standard calls, but like uh, don't. I try not to become complacent. Like I'm not gonna, you know, if it sounds fishy, I'll do the 12 lead. No matter what. Like, and if I'm gonna put the 4 lead, you know that. I'm pretty sure I told you that. If you're gonna put the 4 lead on someone, do the 12 lead too. Like, unless certain, like very, very few situations, I would just throw the 4 lead on someone. Just, just do the 12 lead. Check out their part. You never know what you might see. And if you know what normal looks like, then whatever is not normal is definitely going to stand out. So uh, I think yeah, avoid complacency, and you might not ever run into. You will run into something that's going to make you like scratch your head. That's inevitable. DMS.
Right.
So, but
You had said that thing that one time. I think your instructor told you something like that about like before you, and I've carried it with me, before you even move the patient, get a 12 lead, like see what they look like
yeah,
then and keep the monitor on and do that.
yeah,
Like that stayed with me. That absolutely stayed with me. Like you said, it's so easy to get the 4 lead, and then it's even easier to take those 5 seconds to get the last of it and get a full picture.
yeah. I not throwing shade at anybody out there. I hate when people say I'm gonna just throw the 4 lead on them and see what that looks like. Uh, no, like you need do the 12 lead too. The 4 lead, you're only seeing a piece of the picture. Like you want the whole picture. It's only going to show you a little bit. There might be something underlying within that 4 lead. So it's only going to take you a minute. Just throw it on them. I mean, I get certain circumstances like you're going to have to postpone that 12 lead, or maybe it doesn't take priority at that moment. But I mean, come on, if you're not like putting paddles on someone and doing chest compressions, like you should definitely get your partner to put the electrodes on the 12 lead cables and get ready to do one. But yeah, and that instructor too. Yeah, whenever I did that, I took the wire out of the monitor just to move the patient. And again, every situation is different. You may have to do this. It's situation by situation. They were like, "Are you seriously going to take the monitor off the patient who's having chest pain? Like, you don't want to keep that on just in case?" And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and that was during school time, so I was learning, and that stuck with me.
They lost a pulse at some point. Not sure when, but it did happen.
Yeah. Like I am a firm believer that like anything can happen, and I don't like being thrown curveballs whenever I know that you can hit them. I guess is the best way to the analogy or whatever. Like, don't show up to the hospital, and when you get to the hospital, turn the monitor off while you're sitting there being triaged. Like, keep the monitor on the patient till you're at the bedside, then take them off and move them over. Especially if you were doing a 12 lead to begin with, like don't take them off the cardiac monitor. Like keep them on it.
the thing you said about the 12 lead, the 4 lead, like, oh, we'll just see what the 4 lead shows. That's like taking, like, you have a piece of cheesecake in front of you. Not that patients are edible, but you have a you have a piece of
Unless you're a
cheesecake.
cannibal.
Depends on how you look at it. Depends on your morals and ethics. I don't know. Um, life is weird. No, like you have a cheesecake in front of you, and so you get the 4 lead, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna look at this one little thing, like little nibble. Whereas like you get the 12 lead, it's like, let me actually take a bite of this. Let me like see what we're like digging into in this, and it's so easy. But what's a piece of advice you'd give someone either going into EMS or someone already in EMS? Because like part of why I was like, I need to get Logan on was like I wanted to show listen like everybody that listens, whoever you are out there, that like there is something past EMS. Like this is not a lifelong career, and especially we've talked about it. Like there's that lifespan of someone in EMS. Like it's so short, and it's really sad, but it's because like this job, as cool as it is, as awesome as it is, and like as rewarding in some points, like yeah, but also like there is stuff past this, and so like I really admire the way you're just like, you know what, like you have the I really admire that you have, I guess, like the wherewithal. That's the word I can't think of. I don't know. There's a word for it. Hi, I'm a former
Mm.
English teacher. But like you have that self awareness. That's what it is. You have that self awareness to be able to be like, yeah, I just don't want to stay in this, instead of staying in it and like people we know and everybody can picture one of like those medics that like you should have just left. Like please do everybody a
Yeah,
favor and go. So like
yeah.
what's either if it's that or if it's like something else completely of put your patient on a non-rebreather if they're having an allergic reaction versus a nasal cannula. What would what would you like to share?
Oh. That and Allen, Texas. I'm never gonna
No.
never gonna get that let down. But okay. No, if you're getting into EMS, first off, I heard this somewhere before, and it's not mine. I don't own it. I don't even know who said it. I don't know where it came from. Social media. I read it somewhere. Watched it in a video. But basically, it was said that EMS is like it's a sorority or a frat house. Like everybody wants to get in, but not everyone can handle it. And once you're here, you can't wait to go home, you but then you can't wait to come back either too. Like you just if you like it, you like it. And if you do have that passion, that's great. Some people do choose to get into EMS, and they do have lifelong careers with it, and that's great. That is perfectly fine. Other people use it as stepping stones. They do nursing, PA. Some I've known people who've gotten their MD. That's great too. No matter what, though, I feel like the biggest piece of advice. There's so much advice I could give. I could write a book on it, I guess. But don't like continue to learn. Don't become complacent, and just always learn. If you're not sure about something, ask. Always ask questions, especially if you're a student. Um, I didn't take advantage of that. I did ask questions, but once you're out there on your own, you realize how many more questions you could have asked that you should have asked. But you are where you are now, so you just make the best of what you have and just ask questions no matter what. There's a lot of resources out there, uh, partners, co-workers, uh, good old Google, books, anything. Just try to continue learning, learn something new, and I mean, I think that'd be like the biggest piece of advice I could give to somebody. And if you are getting into EMS, maybe just if you're not really sure about it, just give it some time, and you never know. You might feel differently about it. And if you do and you choose not to say, that's okay too. It's completely okay. But yeah.
That time where I was like, yeah, Logan knows a lot. And I think I was about to finish P school and we were about to do something with scenarios. I don't know. It was something. Oh, that's what it was. I was about to take the, what's the word? The skills test for National Registry. And some kind of question came up on one of those videos I was watching where it was like, somebody was given nitro for an inferior STEMI. And I was panicking because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god, wait, we can't do that. And I'd ask you, and you're like, oh yeah, Mo, and like you said everything, and I was like, I'm going to verify with my instructor. And you're like, you don't believe me? I've been in this forever. I'm like, nah, I'm going to verify with my instructor. And it turns out that you were right. And you played the stupid,
Oh
like,
yeah,
clapping,
I
like,
did.
noises in the
Yep,
background, the cheering. And
yep.
you were so
I took a bow. Yep.
the worst.
No, no. It's just, yeah. No, you brought that up, and I was like, it was that actually kind of made me think too, because I was like, man, like I know, like I learned this. Like, did something change, or like like I don't know. So just to confirm that I knew, I thought I was right, and I actually just felt relieved. I was like, okay, good.
I didn't kill that patient.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like I said, I've had those where, especially like the inferior MIs, where I remember that, especially from school being kind of drilled into us, just use it with caution, make sure you get that right side of 12 lead and everything, and so,
And it
yep,
helps whenever, like, you know the reasons why, not just no, there's nothing wrong with being a cookbook medic to an extent, but at the same time, like follow your protocols, but also knowing you give a medication because of what it does to the body, and like even nitro in an inferior STEMI, like knowing why you should be very cautious with it. It makes the difference between I would say like a good provider versus a better provider, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, yeah, knowing your pathophysiology is like really really helps, because you'll know about pathology of diseases and how the medications will affect certain systems and the actions of it. Really helps.
You remember that call we had at like I just thought about this. It was like 5 something in the morning. We were about to crew change. We had that call for that girl was like underneath the house screaming, and she kept
Yeah,
screaming,
she
and
went full Britney Spears. She shaved her head. Yeah, yeah, I do remember that.
she was screaming, and you were like, "Ma'am, there are people about to get up and go to work. You need to stop." And I was like, "Oh, there are. This is obnoxious."
I mean, like, really, I get it. Like, it's I try to be, calm and reasonable, of course, but like sometimes it just gets you, and like I just remember it was like kind of like a little quiet neighborhood, and I'm just like, man, you know how aggravating it would be. Like, there's me, that first cup of coffee we talked about, and I'm like trying to make that, and you just hear screaming, and then you look out your window, and yeah. So I was just like, come on, you got to be quiet. Just come to the ambulance. Like, come on, come this way. Just coaxing her there. It's like a
Little
wild
carrot,
animal.
like,
Just like,
"Come
come
on,
on.
come on, you want to
Yep,
get
come
in
on.
here? Get in the
Come
van."
on. You want some Special K? No, we didn't even have to do that. We even she just like, after all of that screaming and everything, I think I remember she just like got in there and just sat there and just like stuck out her arm for a blood pressure or something, and we just quiet the whole way there. We just didn't, it's like, thank you, thank you.
Now you choose. So, if you could change it all, go back, and even to the picture of you being a child in the back of the Children's Museum ambulance doing quote unquote CPR on your dad. If you could change it all, would you still take this path and go into EMS?
I think I would, just to get that exposure, and maybe, I can't say for certain. I think that if I didn't get into EMS afterwards, I think maybe I would have tried a little harder in school, and you know actually just went to college and got my nursing, and got that over with. But also, I feel like if I'd have just went into EMS, I think I'd have gotten my EMT, and maybe even a paramedic again. Go through that all over again, and but maybe do something a little different, like try like PA school or anything really.
It kind of goes back to what you said earlier. I want to capitalize on that. It's such a powerful statement when you said of like you clock in and you want to go home, but then like as soon as
Mm.
you clock out, you want to come back. I'm not talking like as soon as like I'm getting in my car. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll stay. No. Um, but like I've seen people that like they leave EMS and like not just because like they go into nursing school or anything like that. Like they have an entirely different job and they'll like post up for like I'll have conversations with them and like, yeah, I miss being on the truck. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
hour like 16 into this 24 and we've had it handed to us. And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because I'm a little sleepy me and like I'm hungry and like I don't want to be here and especially on the days where it's like nothing but just like BLS calls more or less and like you don't need us but here we are and it's fine. I just want to do my job, do cool things me. Um so it's like what do you mean you miss it? But at the same time like I can see that of just there's really not another job like it. And for me, like cuz I finished P school with you. You were the one that was like I was like I'm going to wait a month to take registry and you're like no, do it in 2 weeks. And I'm like I don't know, Logan. Thank you for that by the way. Thank you for
Sooner the better.
but I can't even as much as I'm like we talked about a little while ago like future plans and stuff like that. I just can't imagine leaving it right now. So I can that's what that question's hard because like if you could change it all like you can't but then at the same time like the experiences you
Yeah.
have and like the people you meet along the way and just like even just those small moments of like I don't know, it sounds really cheesy and we're not heroes but like impacting people along the way. Like it just
Yeah.
that it makes or breaks the job more than your partner, more
Yeah.
than your shift, more than like the calls you get in that location or whatever.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to just say like, oh yeah, if I could go back, I'd just go straight into nursing. It's because just knowing what I know now, it's hard to just think about never not doing it. If that makes any sense, like because like you said, not even like talking to somebody being on the truck. Like I mean, down here, South Louisiana, we're very friendly, and you have everybody knows everyone and everything that's going on, and you'll hear somebody being like, "Oh, hey, such and such was in the hospital," and then like you catch it, and you're like, "What happened?" And then they start talking, and you're like, "Well, did they do this test, or like did they say if it was this?" And like you're trying to figure it out, and like now you're all digging into it, or and then you realize like you're like, man, that's just so interesting or something, and yeah, it's like I said, it's just hard to say that you couldn't go back and do it differently, but there's nothing else like it. Like there's just nothing else like this job. I mean, it's unique, it's different, um, and especially like starting out in EMS, I made friends, and then I really made a really solid group of friends during P school, and it's just that bond. Everybody's struggling, and you're going off in no sleep, and just it's miserable. It's the worst and best time of your life is the best way I can put it. Um, you're not alone in it, and it's great. And like I said, and those same group of friends. I mean, we're still friends, and that's one of the things we do too. Like to just kind of decompress, how we talked about earlier. We'll still all go out and grab coffee or get some drinks or something, and just go out, eat lunch, and just chit chat. And so yeah, that's
Okay. Only if you want.
mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about Ivy?
We can.
Okay. Kind of like I said, like you especially in this journey of like going into nursing school, you've had a lot going on as far as like you have a family, you have a kid, you have this job, you have school now. It's a lot on somebody's plate. Um but you and your wife who are y'all are phenomenal people. Y'all are absolutely phenomenal people. Y'all went through something that I don't know how people go through it and make it through it, but like nobody should ever deal with. Um, just tell me a little bit about because we worked together through like when everything happened with Ivy. Y'all had your baby and like everything was good, and then everything started happening and like I want to one of the biggest things that I remember from it is um just like because we would talk a little bit about it but I never wanted to press because like that's you and your wife's thing and like y'all are dealing with it how y'all need to I don't even know what to give you so like but I just remember we had whatever call um and like this job and also this job in itself, it affects you. It affects us in so many ways. And then when you start bringing like your personal life into it, it's hard. And so we had some kind of call, and it wasn't even critical. It wasn't even bad, but like I still remember this moment. I looked, and like you were kind of quiet. I looked over at you and I'm like, "You good, man?" And like you obviously were thinking about your kid, your wife, everything that's going on. Well, I say kid, your baby. And you said, and I still remember this moment when I'm like thinking like, man, like life is just a lot. I think of this moment and I'm like, okay, life is not bad for me. But you said, I have a job centered around fixing people, and it's what I can do, and I do good at it. But the one person I want to fix, my own kid, I can't do anything for her. And like, dude, I I still don't know how y'all got through what y'all did. And you still like you're still continuing in nursing school. You're still doing everything you're doing, and it's between you and your wife. Like y'all are absolutely phenomenal people. Hats off to y'all. But if you're comfortable with it, tell me a little about like what happened like in the progress of everything that went down with Ivy.
Yeah, definitely don't mind talking about her at all. My wife, she had a good pregnancy. Everything went smooth. Our daughter Ivy was born. She was born in 2021, and right off the bat, my wife and I just kind of felt like something wasn't right. It just didn't seem normal, and we already had a daughter before Ivy, so it wasn't our first go around with a baby. Like we weren't new parents. Something just wasn't right, and then uh, I at first we thought it might have been something with her eyes, a vision issue, but to me, we had a very strong suspicion that she was having seizures, and especially just me being in this field, I was really concerned about it. Her pediatrician at the time was kind of blowing us off about it, and we had switched pediatricians, and there was one night where my wife called to tell me, she was like, look, I really think this was like an obvious seizure. It's not like what she usually does. It has gotten worse. And I told her, if she does it again, call 911 or we'll come out there, pick her up, take her to the hospital. But if she doesn't, monitor her throughout the night. And in the morning, call the pediatrician's office first thing in the morning, which she did. They saw her that afternoon, scheduled an EEG to be done. I think it was like that very next day, which was a Friday. And this was right around Christmas in December. We had the EEG done, and within like 20 or 30 minutes of the EEG, the tech came in and was like, something's definitely not right. I can't give you a lot of information. The PA is going to come in and talk to you, but it looks like we're definitely going to admit y'all into the emergency room. So we did that, and I mean, within a few hours, we were being transferred to one of the bigger cities down south at a specialty children's specialty hospital, and she was having seizures. It was seizures, but we didn't know what the cause of the seizures were. They did MRI, CTs, and everything on her when we got there. Started treating the seizures. And at that time, like that's whenever, like we hit it right at I think we hit it right at the right time when we went in, because they were like now actually really prevalent. Like they were obvious. Like if I would have went on a call and seen a baby doing that, I would have definitely treated for a seizure, and I would have called it a seizure. So within a week of us being there, we had some really great care. They did a spinal tap on her, and then we got the diagnosis that she was diagnosed with non-ketotic hyperglycemia, or it's for short NKH, or glycine encephalopathy. Basically, it's just a rare genetic metabolic disease. It's just she didn't have the enzyme that was capable of breaking down the amino acid glycine that we all have. And what happens is it kind of builds up in the body, and specifically like the brain, muscles, and fluids and stuff, tissues. And what that causes usually is seizures, very, very poor muscle tone, lethargy. Um, it's really bad. There's two different forms. There's an attenuated form, which is like a minor to moderate form, and then there's like the severe form. Prognosis for the severe form is like very, very, uh, usually within weeks to maybe a month or two is usually uh, those diagnosed with it pass away. Um, the attenuated form, it all varies. It could be months, could be years. Um, we were eventually discharged from the hospital. We got her seizures under control. She had a peg tube placed because she stopped eating. She was breastfeeding. She wasn't even taking a bottle, so we had to have a peg tube placed. I know she was taking Keppra, phenobarbital. We were pushing Ativan, along with a couple other medications that they try to use to help eliminate that glycine in the body. We went home on hospice. Um, Things really weren't looking great. Uh, Long story short, a few weeks into it, she did improve and was really kind of opening her eyes. She started taking a bottle again. She was doing good. And then we just went right back downhill, and it was worse than before. Uh, Basically, what happened was that any movement, any noise, anything, or I say noises weren't really a big uh, contributing factor to her seizures, but mostly like movement. If you'd pick her up, hold her, change her diaper, um, touch her, she would seize, and then we had to go back to that city to do like further testing, EEGs and stuff, and we found out that she was having like hundreds of seizures a day. Some of them that we could obviously see, and we were trying to treat, but there was these silent seizures that she was having that we just no one could tell that her brain was just constantly in this chaotic state. And Not too long after that last visit, when we found that out, we had to put her on some additional medications to kind of help sedate her. And we kind of came to the conclusion through her hospice team and the doctors at the Children's Specialty Hospital that it got to the point where her feedings were triggering seizures. It was just irritating her. And usually, especially like what I found out through hospice, is sometimes that's a sign that that's when patients are kind of, when their body can, when you actually, when you're about to die, you don't, in your own hospice care, you don't, you're just not hungry, you don't have an appetite, and actually eating or forcing somebody to eat could make them worse. So we had just came to there was really nothing we could do. It was a dead end. I mean, it's a rare genetic disease. There's no cure for it. There's minimal treatments, and the treatments that we were trying just were not effective at all, and things were just continuously spiraling downhill. So we all came to the conclusion that we would kind of cut back on the feedings, and as we did that, it came to a point where there were no longer any feedings, and she did stop seizing for the most part, but ultimately she passed away, and she passed away in March of this year. And yeah, that's long story short. I mean, it was a big journey, but long story short, that's basically all what happened in a nutshell.
I just, dude, again, would never wish that on anyone. And I still, like, it hurts me for y'all to no end that, like, y'all dealt with that. And all while, like, not closer to the end and understandably so, but, like, I mean, you're still going on calls and, like, it just, how, how hard was it knowing that, like, everything you're going through, like, you could still clock in and go on a pediatric call? Like, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that was the biggest concern I had, especially after she passed away, was having to deal with a bad pediatric call. Um, I I just did it. I don't know. I think it was really hard whenever she was alive and we were treating her. I honestly, and I wouldn't change anything about taking care of. I mean, I would do take care of her all over again. Um, but it was like never really clocking out of work because you come home and like she would have these seizures. Sometimes they were worse than others, and sometimes there were nights where I was studying and my wife would come get me and saying, this seizure's lasting way longer than it typically does, and we would have to go and just fight seizures majority of the night. Even at work, I mean, I don't know if you remember. I think I showed you, but like when they still had like the outlet socks, I would constantly check her heart rate, SpO2, seeing where that was at. Because you could some of those seizures, like the her general seizures, you could tell when she was having them. Her sats would drop and heart rate would get elevated. Typical, seizure that you would see with vital signs. But constantly watching that, and then coming home and just helping my wife push meds or drawing stuff up, or just even checking in on her. Which she did. She actually she quit her full time job, and I stayed full time, and she quit to become her Ivy's primary caretaker, and she did a phenomenal job. I've told her before. I'll tell her again. I'll always tell her I'm extremely proud of her. She doesn't have any, not like medical background or anything, but I mean she provided excellent care to Ivy. So uh, we were all grateful to have her for that. Um, but yeah, it was just coming to work and just never really leaving work is basically what it felt like. So it was much harder to decompress during those times, like if any time to decompress. But yeah, um, yeah, it was definitely rough. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, like not even my worst enemy. That's just it's bad. But yeah.
Like you said though, throughout the whole process, every decision that y'all had, everything that y'all did, you wouldn't change anything. Like again, everything y'all did, fully support. Like y'all did the best that you
Mhm.
could, and there's unless somebody's in there in that unless somebody's in those shoes, it's hard to say like, oh well, why didn't you whatever. Just I think
Yeah.
y'all did the best with what y'all could. I think y'all were rock star parents. Um, and then precious baby Ev, who looks like a carbon copy of you in child form.
Yes, she does. Can't deny her. It's my twin.
Man. Um, yeah, I don't have anything else to say, dude. That's hard. That's so hard. I still
Yeah.
don't know how y'all did it.
Honestly, I don't know either. I really don't. I mean, we had a pretty good support system, with family and everything, and so that always helps. But no, I mean it's not easy making those tough calls, tough decisions. Uh, it's a different world whenever it's your own and not just like your own family member, but your own child. Because for me, I mean, obviously I've been in EMS at the time. I was in there for about 5 years, so I, it's not like anything was new to me. I say new to me, like obviously her disease and everything, but like just being in the hospital and listening to the doctors and nurses talk to us about phenobarbital and Keppra, and we're going to be giving her Ativan and giving this and that. I felt like I was in. It felt like they were talking to me in another language. Like it just didn't feel familiar like it does, or like it did being at work. It was just being like it was like in a foreign land. It it didn't feel real either. So um, that was another big thing. And then it was a lot of transitioning, but and like I said, everybody has their opinions too, like you said. But we put our best interest for Ivy first, and we yeah, we loved her, so we still do.
Solid parents. Y'all are solid, solid parents.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I don't have anything to add. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's it.
Well, if you want to work with one of the coolest people on this planet and avid coffee drinker, RIP his kidneys. No, solid, solid partner, solid dude. One of my favorite people. I feel like that's a cliche that I say, but like, I only have people on here that I like. So, yeah. So with that,
Thank you for having me.
thank you for being a friend. So, guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, future topic ideas, please email me at 22 at the lips podcast at gmail.com. Again, that's 22 at the lips podcast at gmail.com. Thanks. Never stop learning and be safe out there, friends.